Welcome back, everyone, to Complete Aviation Solutions for another deep dive. This is number 45, and today we are looking at some pretty contrasting stories, really. We're examining some recent events from Nigeria and Timor-Leste in the world of aviation, and yeah, we'll be extracting the key insights, connecting the dots for you all, and I think it should highlight some interesting differences between these two regions.
Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating juxtaposition we're seeing. You know, on the one hand, ongoing debates and legal complexities, and on the other, we have tangible steps towards growth. And you know, uh, really, I think it gives us a snapshot of the diverse challenges and opportunities within the global aviation landscape at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, let's start in Nigeria with, this sort of recurring discussion, it seems, about establishing a national carrier. It appears that the Association of Nigeria Aviation Professionals, ANAP, is urging the current president to kind of reignite those efforts.
Yes, and their general secretary has made, I think, a very strong case emphasizing the need for this national carrier to foster a more equitable environment. The argument at its core is that without a Nigerian-flagged airline, foreign carriers disproportionately benefit from the substantial passenger traffic that Nigeria has. And it really taps into this debate about national pride and economic sovereignty, which is a debate that we see recurring a lot.
hmm And there's history here too, right? I mean, ANAP is specifically calling for a correction of what they see as missteps from a previous attempt in Nigeria, right? And this was a joint venture, as I understand it, between the former government and a Nigerian investor consortium, but Ethiopian Airlines had a pretty significant role in it as well.
That's right. Yeah, the initiative was quite controversial and ultimately didn't really materialize. And what I think is really notable is that the existing non-state airlines operating under what's known as the Airline Organization of Nigeria, or AON, they actively opposed Nigeria Air and even secured a legal injunction to prevent its certification by that former government.
Oh.
Yeah, I think this resistance probably stems from concerns about unfair competition through government subsidies or just preferential treatment more
Mm-hmm.
broadly, right? And this could significantly impact their existing thin profit margins because airlines often operate on really small profit margins. And then on top of that, in Nigeria in particular, it's a really challenging operating environment. So any extra pressure is going to be a problem for them.
And here's where it gets really interesting, for me at least. It's not just about this sort of competitive dynamic, but there's also this legal dimension that's hanging over the Nigeria Air situation. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, is prosecuting the former aviation minister and others over alleged contract fraud related to the project. And we're talking at a significant amount of money here, right?
Yeah, precisely. The charges are revolving around the organization of a demonstration flight that actually happened. It used a Boeing 737-800 painted in Nigeria Air livery, and it was operated by Ethiopian Airlines just before the change in government. Um, and allegedly, a lot of public funds were expended on this endeavor, but it ultimately dissolved. And I think this really underscores the potential complexities and financial risks associated with these really large-scale government-backed ventures in this sector.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake. So the Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority acknowledged these appeals for a national carrier, right? He said it's appealing, but the ultimate decision, as he's pointed out, really rests with the current president. So it feels like a situation with a lot of competing interests. You have this strong advocacy from these professionals, but then the established airlines are concerned about their market share, and then you have this shadow of these past legal challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very dynamic, I think, at times turbulent environment for aviation development in Nigeria. And the aspiration for this national symbol and the economic arguments in its favor are pretty clear. But the practical and political obstacles are, yeah, they're very considerable.
Yeah, for sure. Now, shifting gears, still within Nigeria, but there's another legal case we need to look at, and this one involves Air. A court in Lagos has rejected some key documentary evidence that was presented by the EFCC in this case.
Yes, this is another really fascinating development, highlighting these legal complexities within the Nigerian aviation sector. This case involves the former managing director of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, along with four others. They are accused of defrauding Air of a substantial amount of money, both in Nigerian naira and U.S. dollars.
Wow. And these rejected documents, I mean, they were really crucial to the prosecution's case, right? One was testimony from an EFCC witness, but it was deemed inadmissible because this witness was not part of the investigative team and therefore could not really authenticate the information. The other rejected document was a report from a stakeholders meeting that was held in London, and that was dismissed due to issues with its certification and authenticity. I mean, it really emphasizes the importance of adhering to proper legal procedure, right?
Yeah.
And the burden of proof in these cases.
Yeah. And I think what's particularly interesting here is that the defendants include not just former executives, but also Eric Ayers, former receiver manager, and even the current CEO, along with the company. And they face these multiple charges related to theft and abuse of office. They've all pleaded not guilty and are out on bail.
Hmm.
So it suggests potentially some deep-seated issues concerning management and financial oversight at the airline, going back some time.
Yeah, certainly seems like an industry grappling with some pretty significant challenges, right? From this grand ambition of launching a national carrier to navigating these legal allegations within these major airlines. So let's switch gears completely. Let's leave Nigeria for now and go over to Timor-Leste. And this is a very different story. We're looking at Aero Dili and some developments there, and it seems that they've commenced operations with an Airbus A319-100 aircraft.
They have, yeah. It's a really notable step forward for them. Aero Dili, as you said, is the sole scheduled passenger airline based in Timor-Leste.
Yeah.
So this is a really significant development for the nation's air connectivity. And their inaugural E319 flight was on a domestic route connecting Dili and Okuse. And it's marked by a special ceremony, which I think underscores the importance placed on this expansion within the country.
And this isn't a brand new aircraft, is it? I believe it's something like 19 years old. It was previously operated by China Eastern Airlines, and they're currently leasing it, what's called a dry lease, from an entity in Ireland.
That's right. Dry leasing is a very common and often strategic way for airlines to expand their fleet capacity without incurring that substantial long-term financial commitment of buying an aircraft outright.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it's powered by International CFM56 engines, which are known for their reliability and are widely used throughout the industry.
That's good. So their ambitions seem to extend beyond these domestic flights as well. Aero Delhi already operates services to Denpasar and Singapore's Changi Airport, and they've recently inaugurated their first route to mainland China, to Xiamen. They also have plans in development to commence services to Darwin and Melbourne Airport in Australia. So quite an ambitious phase of expansion, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I think, they're focusing on these regional routes like Xiamen, and the planned expansion to Australia suggests that they're likely capitalizing on growing tourism or business travel demand in those specific corridors, and potentially filling a gap left by some of the larger international carriers.
And the addition of this A319 to their existing Airbus A320-200, it really demonstrates this clear focus on growth, both regionally and internationally.
It does.
And for a relatively small island nation like Timor-Leste, having this enhanced air connectivity is absolutely crucial, right? As a driver for tourism and business opportunities and economic development more broadly. I mean, it's a stark contrast to the more complex and challenging environment that we were just looking at in Nigeria.
It is. It's a very different picture.
So we've seen these recent developments, and I think it shows us that the aviation landscape is constantly changing, and different challenges and opportunities are arising in different parts of the world. We've seen these long-standing debates around a national carrier in Nigeria, along with these significant legal proceedings that are happening within the airline industry. And then in Timor-Leste, we're seeing this very tangible progress, and this airline really taking concrete steps to expand their reach and improve connectivity.
Yeah, and what I think is most striking is that contrast, right? You have that intricate web of aspirations, you have the obstacles in Nigeria, and then this very tangible progress and growth being made in Timor-Leste. It's really fascinating to look at these two side by side.
It is. Well, this brings us, I think, to a final thought for our listeners to consider. What are the broader global economic or geopolitical trends that might be contributing to these very different paths in aviation development that we've seen in Nigeria and Timor-Leste? It's a complex picture for sure, and I think these local developments really reflect these larger global forces that are at play. So until next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.